our episodes are very similar to the plagues, in the sense that one just wasn't enough. So here's part 2 of our look at the Prince of Egypt on today's That Song from That Movie. What's up?
Doc?
That's better. It says it's all good. Thank you for joining That Song from That Movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. I am your Ramesses and Mo Sislak, host Dietrich, and today we're joined by Ramesses and Mo Money Mo Problems, Alex.
Like it. Go on, let's say the next one.
Okay. And we're also joined by Ramesses and Mo from EastEnders is Gary Oldman's sister in real life.
I mean, I did not know where it was going, so I was very impressed.
Quite obvious, I think, from the way I said that I wrote that one down first and then worked backwards.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot, D.
Yeah, I suppose I do as well, even at my own expense.
So we're picking up Prince of Egypt from where we left off. So Alex, off you go.
Yeah, we're getting into the heavy songs now. Get your toast, your knife, your scones, your clotted cream ready, because this one is a fresh jam, right? So, performed by Brian Stokes Mitchell, not Danny Glover, who does the voice of the character Jethro in the film. Unfortunately, he doesn't sing. That would have been interesting. The song is Through Heaven's Eyes. Guys, go on, lay on me. What are we thinking about this song?
Through this song, I think this is the one where you go, a lot of you are ex-Disney. I don't think there's very much that's catchy about this. I think it's probably the low point of the songs, not the film, like just of the songs comparatively. Continuing the theme of me comparing this, did you notice how much this sounds like Brian Boitano from South Park?
I did not go that way.
I get what you're saying though, but that came after this though, didn't it?
I have no idea.
Oh, it was about the same time.
I thought his voice sounded like the guy who sings Spirit of Man. Is it Spirit of Man from War of the Worlds? That's where I went to. I thought it was nice to just have a lighter note in this film.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they're kind of enjoying themselves at the start, but you know something's coming. You know there's going to be turmoil. You know there's going to be a break and conflict. Whereas here, they're just having a nice time, and I think it's just quite uplifting. It's kind of a party song, building a bit more into, I guess, Moses comes across as the quite jovial at the start, has to be hit with life's truths and the harsh realization of who he is. But then actually realising there's a nice part to that as well, that he probably couldn't always enjoy being a son of a pharaoh. I probably wouldn't go as far as you, Alex. Whatever your analysis was of this.
Said it was a fresh jam then.
Fresh jam. Yeah, well, I think there was a lot of words that came before it as well.
There was.
Yeah, I like it. Not to that extent.
I am surprised that you two don't think this is a bop, because it's... I don't know, for me it's just got something, and I think like it really injects, like you said, it injects the life back into the film in that mid point.
I mean, it's soon going to be pulled away.
Exactly. So you need the respite, and this song is all respite.
You're gonna choke on that scone. By the way, listeners, it is scone, not scone.
Yeah, it is scone. It's scone when you've eaten it.
Yeah,
it's what I would say. I'm not alone in thinking this is a good song. Stephen Schwartz, writer of all the songs, said this was his favourite for the film.
It's one of my favourite of 7.
No, he said it was his favourite, his absolute favourite. So it was the 4th song written for this part of the film. The first 3 were more comedic and plot driven. The first was called All in the Attitude, which according to Schwartz was, and I want to stress that this is a quote, it's not my words, it was a comic number about how poor they all were. It sounds hilarious.
I can imagine him like having a cigar while he says it.
Right. God.
Brilliant.
Yeah, the other 2 were called Don't Be a Stranger and One of Us, which were about welcoming Moses into the tribe. So they were kind of more plot driven in that sense. One of Us was the song that they were going to go for. However, and Dee, this might be where what you said rings true, because Katzenberg, the guy who used to work for Disney, of course, felt that at this point in the film they needed something more philosophical, thematic, to reflect the change in Moses' way of thinking. So clearly inject Disney into this moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that kind of rings true, doesn't it? Just as a further note on this one, the lyrics came from a combination of a poem called The Measure of a Man and Schwartz's visit to the Sinai Desert in Egypt. It's all sounding a bit John Barry with Stephen Schwartz.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of tax relief holidays here, isn't he?
Secretly sneaking into Egyptian temples, walking through the mountains of Egypt. The only thing that's missing is, what was it, Turkish belly dancers and alcohol. One thing I would say is, if you didn't like this version, you were quite lukewarm. Never, ever listen to the pop version by KC and JoJo. It is possibly the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
I did not know that was a thing. I'll definitely have to.
I'm going to have to listen to it
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I know.
For someone who enjoys this song like I do, it literally murders it with so many pointless vocal runs and crude airport lounge instrumentals in the background, and like chimes. And oh god, yeah. And you know what? Do listen to it. Because it's horrific. I just hated everything about it. Where there's so much like life and enjoyment and happiness in this version, they've just pulled everything that was good about it from it and dumped it on the floor. But yeah, so you guys you clearly don't want to talk about the song anymore. I mean, I was all about talking about the song for the next 25 minutes, but let's move on.
We didn't really talk about this in our last part, but do you remember we've spoken about Stephen Schwartz on this podcast before?
I don't actually.
Have we?
Was that another DreamWorks film?
No, because he left Mulan to do the songs for this film.
He did, yes, I do remember. Yeah, no, that is ringing a bell.
So, because they gave him the option. He wanted to do both, probably because he wanted to go on holiday to Japan as well.
Yeah.
We can only assume.
Yeah, we're seeing a pattern. But Disney said, well, it's this or Prince of Egypt. So he left and went to the Prince of Egypt, and obviously did quite well with it.
Yeah, he'd already been to Asia the year before, so...
Yeah.
So D, I can only assume this next song is your favourite. Playing with the Big Boys Now. So this song features when Moses returns with his wife to ask Ramses to let my people go. I thought you guys were going to say that was a call and response.
I thought you meant like it was some sort of joke, like he was Ramesses too.
No. Ramses too. Let's try it again. Moses returned to Egypt to ask Ramesses to...
I thought you were going to do it, Dave.
I thought you were going to do it, Alex.
Let my people go. Right, okay. So the song... Actually, go on. What do you guys have an opinion on this one?
You're fed up, Alex. You're just phoning it in.
Right, I'll go straight out and say this is my least favourite song of the film by a long.
That's fine. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. For me, it's second last. I do enjoy it, kind of. Like, it's sort of a toe-tapping song, but it's such an odd song for the placement in the film.
Mm.
It just stops the drama between Roses and Ramesses. Moses and Ramesses. They've reunited after one thinks they've been dead for, I don't know how many years. And it just suddenly turns into this weird comedy song from a TV show.
Again, there's that Disneyfication, isn't it?
Yeah,
they just have to have some comedy relief. You almost expect like a monkey to come in.
Yeah, it's like they didn't trust children to keep with them during this scene, whilst there was an emotional reuniting and almost like a disapproval from Moses of Ramesses' actions. So they're like, here's a song by two bumbling idiots.
Yeah, it's Steve Martin, isn't it?
It's Steve Martin and Martin Shaw. Yeah.
Martin Shaw, yeah. But yeah, I feel like it sounds like, and even the setup feels a bit like Be Prepared from Lion King. There's a lot of smoke and there's like people stood up on the balconies on the corner. If you watch it back,
yeah,
definitely has that vibe. Not as good. Jeremy Irons mentioned again.
Before rewatching it, I remembered these two characters being in it, and I felt like they were a much bigger part of the film than they are. They appear like really early in the beginning. A little bit, and then again here, and that's kind of it. It's
just for comedy relief. They remind me of a human pain and panic from Hercules.
Yes, it's very Hercules. They even have the similar aesthetic.
Incredibly skinny and small and fat. It's so easy and so cliche.
But they don't really go in for it, though. That's kind of what I don't understand. They don't really commit to the humour of it because it doesn't crop up enough.
It feels like a studio decision, that you show them this and it's like, whoa, this is really serious. This is really heavy. Throw in some fat little man that does magic.
Yeah, it's literally for the shortest amount of time though. That's what I just find so odd about it. And I think that's kind of what makes me hate the song more, that it just feels so weirdly shoehorned in at this point, like you said, D. And I kind of understand the mechanics of what the song is doing in that it's sort of it's the creation of that moment of doubt in Moses' power, or Moses' word about God, for the Israelites, because like when he obviously leaves that temple, they start throwing mud at him and whatnot. So it's kind of to create that doubt in his character as to what just like it's a bit the middle of this film kind of reminded me of Star Wars in that Luke Skywalker had never heard of the Force, and then all of a sudden he's the one like telling Han Solo about the Force, and it's like Moses never believed in any of this, and then all of a sudden gets visited by a burning bush, and then he's like, everyone must listen to what I say, and then there's that kind of moment where he's like, maybe I shouldn't have listened to the bush in the cave, and so I kind of get it why it's there for that reason, but other than that, I feel like it's just weird.
Yeah, I suppose you can take it as they're trying to show that it's not serious. Like Moses is trying to take everything really serious, and they almost, the two, whatever their characters are named, these two
Hotep
magicians.
and Hoy.
There you go, Hotep and Hoy. They're trying to make light of it for Ramesses, who, he leans back and starts like smirking and laughing. And I think you could see that as a narrative sense as, no, it's not all serious. It's just a trick. It's just parlor games.
Yeah, and kind of belittling his god as well.
Yes, true. But Moses is basically us, and he's like, what the hell, guys?
So the next song is Plagues, which is essentially a reprise of All I Ever Wanted with a few extra verses in there, one of which sang interestingly by Ray Fiennes. Because that is one thing to mention, actually, is that other than Michelle Pfeiffer and the lady who sings the initial lullaby, the one who plays Moses' mum, the rest of the... Oh, actually, no, sorry, and Steve Martin and Martin Short, weirdly. Ray Fiennes is the only other cast member that actually both speaks and sings.
It's odd.
It's odd because Val Kilmer doesn't sing in the film. I know he has more songs than this just like little verse for Ramesses, but my thought was whether they couldn't find anyone who could sing that's in what they assumed Ray Fiennes' singing voice would sound like a better version of it. So you just have to do it. You just have to do it, Ray Fiennes. And it's not like it's bad, but it's weird to hear.
Yes.
But I mean, in terms of the song, I've just put epic because it truly is epic, this song. Yeah, we're still going, guys. Give me a spiel.
Pardon my French here, but what a fucking banger of a tune this is.
Comes out of it when you least expect it.
It's just so impactful and epic and bombastic and other words that mean like over the top. It has one thing that all good musicals should have, and that's a dueling verse and then dueling choruses.
I see what. Yeah, it does that well.
The final chorus where they're both singing the chorus how they wanted to hear it at the same time. It's magic. It's magic on screen. And the visuals that go with this, like with the half and half faces, and then it splits into like them both looking towards the moon, I guess. Everything about it is perfect. It's chef's kiss. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
Ooh. Ben, can you top a chef's kiss?
Oh, it's all I ever wanted. There you go.
Ooh.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's for the poster.
Yeah, okay.
We're like 20-something years too late.
Go on, Ben.
I do really like it. Again, I think it's one of those, if I was just listening to this on a soundtrack, I'm not too fussed. And I could probably say that for a lot of the songs. I think they work really well with the visuals because they've been finely tuned together. And like Dee said, in talking about the song, he's talking as well about how a lot of it links in with the visuals. There's that, like the frenetic pacing of the song as well, links really key to all the plagues, the visions they're saying, the almost like lightning striking. I think they all work with the film and not so much by themselves. And I think this song probably emphasizes that more than any other.
Yeah, and I think it was because when I was watching it, I was thinking it was an interesting choice for them to decide not to show each plague in like more detail, because you feel like a lot of people writing the story for this film would have done that. They would have given like each one like its own, because they do it obviously with the blood in the Red Sea. And that has a kind of like more of it is like within the narrative, but every of the other ones, apart from the final one, I fed into the song. But actually, I think it's a really good way of doing it. It's pretty much the perfect way of doing it.
It's to the film's credit.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Because it's still as impactful, but it all happens at once. So it's all this. It's just this huge moment, isn't it? Where it's just like everything is happening at once, and you're like, oh god.
Yeah. In a lesser film, this would have been like a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
Going right, that one, then that one, then that one. It didn't need it.
Exactly, yeah. And it did a perfect job of displaying it all. The part I did enjoy the most about this is where like he just like Ramses just like keeps turning behind him and Moses will just be stood there like another plague. It's locusts now. It's frogs. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's that the stakes have already risen. You don't need them to kind of be the tension to be wrapped up anymore. We're already at that point, so let's just rush it through. Let's just pile them on. It works really well.
Yeah. And I think obviously the final plague where the firstborn children of the Egyptian families is killed, that's kind of the core of what they tried to go with this film in terms of, like, when I mentioned with the lullaby and the connection to family and who do you belong to and children, essentially, because obviously Moses ends up being the father of the Jewish faith, I suppose, in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And so it's about those generations, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think they really hone in. They really realise that that's the only one that counts in a lot of ways, and they give that one its time and its place on screen, and the rest of them are kind of just like a build up to that, and they appreciate that, and I think that's the one thing you would say about the film. It just feels very well constructed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's the thing. Like a common, like, very easy criticism about. There's a lot of like smiting and punishment and wrath, and I think from the traditional story that the Moses plagues, it's all wrath, but they added a lot of humanity and character into Moses. Of like, I don't want to do this. This is awful. This is breaking me apart. That I'm doing this to my brother, but I have this responsibility to my people to get their freedom. And it's kind of like I have to lose that one thing that probably he cares about almost as much as his responsibility to the Jews. And that sort of inner turmoil is just so huge and almost like hangs on a knife edge in this. And I think that moment when obviously the firstborns died, that's that kind of like, it's no going back now. I just think it works really well. Again, only with the visuals. It's
such a brilliantly conceived scene from start to finish, musically, visually. I feel like it just ends up overshadowing the next song we're going to talk about.
That's interesting.
I really want to see this musical.
Well, actually, one thing to mention is that, since you reference the musical again there, Ben, is that the song I hear the most, Playing with the Big Boys Now, is not in the musical. So they obviously realised that it was stupid.
Which is interesting, because even Les Mis has Master of the House.
Yeah, but that's good. Yes, it is. Let's move on. So, most people who remember this film from childhood but haven't watched it recently will only probably remember the one song. And the one song they will remember, I imagine, is When You Believe. So I've got a lot more notes on this song, as you would expect. So let's just dive right in. So first of all, I'll let you guys start. Like, Dee, you said you think the previous song overshadowed it. Do you want to expand on that?
I guess the question I need to ask here, are we talking about the movie version or the single release?
Well, we will go into both. We'll talk about the movie version first.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think it is hard not to like this song, even if it is following one of the most epic songs ever in one of the greatest animated films of all time. Kidding. It is a really big song, and I really do enjoy this one. I think the placement in the movie is a bit strange, because it almost feels like they're celebrating the death of children by singing this song. I feel like there's not enough of a beat in between the final plague and this song starting to not make it sound like going, when you believe, children die. Just needed a slight bit more room to breathe, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that. Decant it.
Exactly.
I agree with Dee. I think it could have just come at the end. I guess if this message, yes, things can happen if you believe, feels very Disney. You just could have waited a bit. It does seem like you're coming off after just being exhausted, and it's just a bit too cheery, probably.
So do you think it should have come after they escape through the water? Is that
basically
kind of...
yeah. I mean, I think that don't touch that scene, because that scene is amazing. But yeah, just afterwards, just something, just like basically like an outro. Maybe interweave a bit of the sort of some musical refrains, maybe just softer versions of through the film to show that the character development is important. It's not just disregarded.
But do you think they made the choice to put it where they did precisely for the reason that you're saying it doesn't work there? That they had to kind of... Because essentially they have just killed all those children. So they have to sort of bring them back. Like, it's very difficult to do that, isn't it? Like, how... Yes, these are all slaves and they've been subjected to horrific treatment, but at the same time they've just killed children who are kind of innocent in this storyline. So it's like, how else do you do it?
Maybe it should just not have existed.
The song itself,
in the movie.
In the movie, yeah. I mean, like I said, I really do like the song. Mostly the single version. But I don't know, just watching it back, just don't think it really works. Yeah, it is the song that is synonymous with the film. Because it has that, again, that very Disney message that works for children, or is intended to, that if you believe, anything can happen. It's the bloody, what do you call it? It's the Pinocchio. Anything your heart desires, will come to you. Is that kind of
same sentiment?
Believe and you can have it. Yeah.
It feels like it sells out Moses' character. Moses' character,
Moses,
where he's feeling the pain of all these plagues, and in the beginning of the film, they make a massive point about him hating the idea that somebody's killing children, and yet at this point in the film,
Younglings.
we're now celebrating killing children.
Younglings.
Slaughtered them like animals.
Master Moses.
Not just the firstborns.
Yeah, I mean, to skip past those Star Wars references.
Please do.
I completely agree with you two that I think the placement is odd. I think it would have made much more sense to come at the end, but I see why they tried to put it where they did, because they probably felt it was too much of a downbeat to then expect the audience to be with them as they walk out. Because, I mean, the scene just before, you're literally looking at Ramesses putting a sheet over his dead child, and it's like, it's quite, and like the way he sort of like places his head on the stone slab is very depressing to watch. And it's kind of like, so I get why they felt they had to put the song there. But I think, like you two have both said, that I think it's the tone of the song. I think maybe if they had to put song there should have been something different. But I think, like you both said, I think it should have been moved later on. I think it would have worked a lot better coming right at the end. But then again, I think the problem there is that they obviously wanted to tie up the other songs in that final moment, and the Deliverer's song comes back. So then it would have been in the way of that.
I think keeping it to the credits was the way to do this.
Possibly.
To get around the problem.
Yeah, it could have just been a credit song. Yeah,
it's
cop out, but yeah.
So let's go into comparing the two versions then, because you've mentioned the credit song, and actually this song does play at over the credits, but it's a different version. It's obviously the Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston version. Let's talk about the differences between them. I mean, do you guys have a preference? Do you prefer one over the other?
There's a lot more behind the Whitney and Mariah version. I don't know why I attribute it to Christina Aguilera, but when they just go off, they're just going all over the place. And I quite like watching the video, because just from what I know about Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, I imagine they didn't like sharing the spotlight. And as much as they're smiling at each other, it almost feels like a weird sort of rap battle.
Yeah.
That they're just kind of like trying to sing over the top of each other. But still, I think it has a lot more power. And aside from the narrative, I think it works the song. It's very memorable. It is the one that sticks out, because I think it's the only one that works without the film.
There's an awful lot of vocal gymnastics, so it's hard not to keep on top of the vocals. What I thought was weird about this version compared to the movie one, which I do prefer the movie version, is that the actual backing music in this is much more easy listening, very Sunday afternoon, you're doing spring cleaning.
It's Airport Lounge. It's the same as the weird version of that Casey JoJo version of Heavens. It's the same kind of thing, and it's the kind of thing that you used to get with all sort of song tie-ins. Like, I think the one that's really coming to mind is the one from Aladdin. What's the song called?
A Whole New World.
Whole New World, the version of A Whole New World.
Oh, they all do it. The version of, is it Taylor's Oldest Time? The Luther Vandross?
Yeah.
Diana Ross, is it?
This is it, and it's kind of, they're always like this. They have this sort of like weird backing track. It's very strange.
Takes away from it.
Yeah, it does, and I wrote that exact thing, and I put the sort of the vocal gymnastics, as you so well put it there, Dee. It's all glamour and no sparkle, which is the complete opposite of the version of the song in the film. It just becomes more about those two singers competing with each other, and the song just loses all sense of emotion. And it's just, the backing track is sickly. It's like disgusting to hear. I can't actually like go through my ears. And yeah, the original sort of, I put strict back version, but I suppose it's the opposite way around. The other song is like an all on top version. Although it doesn't feature these powerful vocals, it's kind of elevated in its sort of simple, humble hopefulness. It's like a chorus of simple voices rather than like these over the top ones collected to create something that's more touching and then sort of encapsulates the sort of rising belief in these three people. I know what you guys are saying, it feels odd in the film, but I think the song works, and I think the scene works. I just think that it's in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that's kind of was my takeaway listening to both next to each other, because they do come on there about 10 minutes between them in the actual film, between that scene and the credits. But yeah, so like it's almost like the Gary Houston version. I am going to read up my notes here. are all Egyptian pharaonic materialism. It's literally like they're the Egyptian version of the song, which is obviously not what it's supposed to be, the opposite. But that's what they're displaying. It's kind of it's all face value and nothing deeper. Whereas the other version is kind of, I felt, was much more touching.
Mm.
But yeah, do you want some more facts about the songs?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Ben, you touched on something interesting about it being competition between Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, or it seeming like it. And actually, at the time, there was a lot of negative press about their relationship. People saying that they were, and this was before they even collaborated on this song, that they were like rivals. During the process of creating this song together, they both were very open about how well it was going and how good they were, well they were getting on, which does make you wonder, doesn't it, a little bit? It's kind of like, I can't tell whether it's...
If it was going well, you wouldn't need to tell us.
Yes, it's essentially, they doth protest too much kind of situation, but anyway, we don't know the truth behind that. But yeah, they both said that their relationship was very, very good, and they both got on very well during the recording of this song. The song was awarded the Best Original Song at the 71st Academy Awards, beating another alumni. I don't want to miss a thing. We mentioned Armageddon at the beginning, and other songs, of course. It wasn't a one versus one. The version featuring Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston was not the version that won the award. The version that won the award was the version from the film.
Oh, okay.
But,
interesting.
Yeah, well, from what I could tell, anyway. I mean, don't 100% quote me on that. But the reason why I believe that is that Stephen Schwartz left producer Babyface, who was the one who helped him make that version. No. He left Babyface off of the nomination submission sheet because he didn't help he had nothing to do with the film version. So I don't know whether it's kind of like just the song won it, but Stephen Schwartz decided that it was the film version, or whether it was actually the film version that was the one that was nominated. That's unclear. But all we know is that Babyface did not get any credit when it came to the award.
Knowing the Academy, it was probably that, or at least members of the Academy that voted had heard the Mariah Carey Whitney Houston version, saw it on the page, and oh, that's it. And they wouldn't have even realised it was someone else at the end. Yeah. I think they just very much oh, it's that thing. I'll vote for that thing, even though I've not heard it or seen it.
Yeah, the irony of it was that the version that they performed, because they performed at the Oscars, at the 71st Academy Awards, the version they performed was the Babyface version, obviously, because it was their version, not the version from the film. So there's an interesting story about their appearance on the Oscars. So before the appearance, they were scheduled to rehearse. However, Whitney Houston pulled out due to illness, but the Academy executives didn't take it well, calling it a bullshit story. That's quoted. The Academy's musical arranger found a young performer to take Houston's place for the rehearsal, and she was called Janice Yulee. However, at one point, Mariah Carey forgot her lyrics and stopped performing, only for Yulee to step in, singing, and this is a quotation, gusto and theatricality. Her performance, which possibly could have been her trying to grab her 5 minutes of fame, angered directors of the ceremony, who called it inappropriate and unnerving. She was removed from the stage.
Amazing. So, Mariah Carey was her usual diva self, and someone tried to hold the weight, and that was seen as a dick move.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interpretation of the events, Ben. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll take that.
All we know is that a young singer tried to presumably just perform as she'd been asked, and she was kicked off the stage.
They probably would have preferred Mariah to just stand there and smile at the audience.
I very much expected that story to be, and that person is now known as...
Imagine. No, there was no link on her name anywhere, and I couldn't find, so presumably that was a one chance.
She probably got blacklisted, because that was probably also very Hollywood of the time.
Yeah, probably, yeah. The only other note I actually have on this song was that UK listeners may know the song more as the winner's song for the 2007 series of X Factor, ultimately won by Leon Jackson. And I think actually this has come up before. I think it came up when we did the What If episode, which I know I mentioned earlier, because I think Rydian did a version of that song, and Rydian came second in this season of X Factor, so he also did a version of this song, as did Same Difference.
God, these are callbacks.
So yeah, some callbacks that everyone will understand listening to this, I'm sure.
yeah, definitely.
Got to number one, presumably. I guess every X Factor winner got
Apart
to number one, except for Joe McElderry, with his famous loss to Rage Against the Machine.
Yep, I bought that Rage Against the Machine single so many times that week. Looking back, what a waste of money.
Okay, top 5 time. So, obviously, Alex, you were alluding to, this is kind of very early in the DreamWorks age, and it was kind of weird for animation, the late 90s, early 90s, not knowing whether to embrace CGI after Toy Story, or to go back to just traditional methods. And there was this conflict, and it led to a lot of crap. So, what I want to know from you guys is, because most of the answers might be around that time, is what are the biggest animated box office bombs of all time?
Okay.
Well, I'm guessing in this case it's not Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, we can't do it this week.
For the first time ever, I have not picked the film that we're talking about probably in the top 5.
Are any of them Disney films?
Not telling.
Okay,
so come on, I'll give you clues further down the line, Alex.
I think there's one called like Amusement Park or something like that.
Not on the list.
Theme Park, Amusement Park.
Not on the list.
Oh, that one that was recent. That was relatively recent.
Yeah.
Wonder Park. Was it called Wonder Park? Maybe.
Oh, maybe that was it. Yeah.
So is this just Everben? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, apparently these figures are up to date as of the 16th of April, 2021.
Brother Bear.
Yeah, it was Brother Bear one.
Nope.
Home on the Range.
Nope.
I'm guessing Osmosis
Chicken
Jones.
Little.
You're saying all amazing films.
No, because
Treasure Planet.
You're getting closer. So
Atlantis.
Treasure Planet is 7th on the list.
Oh.
Not Atlantis then.
No, not Atlantis. Just go away from Disney.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Ants.
No. You were doing really well, guys.
Joseph.
What?
Did you say we were doing really well?
No, well, yes, I'm being completely sarcastic.
No, so Joseph actually was
it's a prequel to
a follow-up to this film. Yeah, but it's a VHS. It was really straight to VHS.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, God, this is harder than I thought, though.
One of the answers in this list is apparently the greatest box office bomb of all time, animated or not, because it used a particular technique that was incredibly expensive that films like A Christmas Carol used and Polar Express, in which they used live action and then animated over the top.
Is it either of those two?
No. Robert Zemeckis. Oh my god. Okay. Terrible.
This is going to be hard.
Yeah. Okay, the one afterwards is a DreamWorks film. I think came out not long after The Prince of Egypt.
El Dorado.
Oh, god. Okay. Number 1 is a film called Mars Needs Moms.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I have heard of that, yeah.
Is that the Robert Zemeckis one?
Yes, it had a budget of $150 million and made around $39 million. Yeah. So if you think usually they say you have to make double to break even.
So is that kind of a theme here? Are they all quite big budget films then?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Because I'm really finding it hard though, I don't know why. I mean, are some of them stop motion animations?
Nope.
No. Because they've got to be expensive to make, so.
Expected better than you guys.
Right, okay. Maybe give us more time frames. Like, when are we
Okay,
the
second one is from 2003, and it's this DreamWorks film that I was hinting at, which basically is DreamWorks changed tact after this to solely focus on CGI.
So it was actually like a drawn animated film?
Well, I think it was like a mix, a lot more mix than Prince of Egypt. It was Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas.
Which you did say earlier in the episode. I was thinking that I was trying to remember the ones that you'd said earlier, because it must be one of them. Christ, this is not going well. This is probably our worst performance ever.
This might be. It's even worse than the time I did the Mulan one.
Yeah.
Well, I still have questions about that one.
Yeah.
A lot of deaths in this one.
Third one is a film directed by Don Bluth. Legendary Don Bluth. Director of films such as Old Dogs Go to Heaven.
Old Dogs Go to Heaven too. I was going to say Rescuers.
Stars Matt Damon, Bill Pullman.
Matt Damon?
Titan AE.
Never heard of it.
Oh, well, watch it. It's a car crash.
I didn't even know that was animated.
Exactly. That's the thing, because it's trying not to be, and that's why it's bad.
Oh, God.
Never heard
The fourth one is an anime from a game.
A Pokemon?
No.
From a game.
It was
Final Fantasy! That weird film, Spirit. Yeah, what was it called?
Yes, The Spirits Within. It's
Spirits Within.
Well, I'll kind of give you a half point. The fifth one, I can't even remember, is called Rise of the Guardians.
Oh, no, I know that one. That's the one with
I know that one.
About like Santa Claus and the
like frost giants.
Yeah,
and shit like that.
yeah, no, I do know. I do have heard of that.
Honest to God, that was shocking.
That was hard, though.
Was it hard? I expected at least one. I mean, to be fair, Osmosis Jones was further down the list. Do you also remember the Great Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle? Is that animated?
That's mixed, isn't it?
Is it mixed? Kind of is. Well, I suppose Osmosis Jones kind of is as well. Do you remember Monkey Bone? That's also mixed.
Yes, well, I thought Monkey Bone was one came to my head, but it's not animated all the way through.
Also, 7th in this list is Kubo and the Two Strings, which is a great film.
Really?
It just didn't do well. 60 million budget, made 54 million.
That was a terrible performance.
Shocking.
Okay, so now it's time for us to decide what's a good performance, as it's time to decide what is the best song of The Prince of Egypt. Alex, do you want to go first this week? As always.
As always. What is the best song? God, I mean, I thought we were all going to be saying it was To Heaven's Eyes. I feel like a bit of displaced now. Whilst watching it, I was thinking, like, pretty much every song is good in this film, except for the...
Let's hear it for the boys.
Playing with the Big Boys Now. Playing with the Big Boys Now. But even that one was one of the ones I remembered from before. Like, that was one of the ones that played around in my head before I watched it. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. So it's difficult. I feel like you two are maybe leaning towards Plagues, but I actually think the one that I found really impactful was the first one, Deliverers. And I felt like if you combine it with the ballad in the middle, which it kind of felt like a mini opera in itself, like the two combined. So maybe I'll go Deliverers. I don't know, it's very hard. I think I really tried to talk myself into When You Believe, because I really hated listening to the Mariah Carey Whitney Houston version, which is weird because I didn't think I disliked it until I heard it next to the normal version. So I was kind of trying to sway myself towards that version in the film, but I don't think it is the best song in the film. Whereas I did like The Plagues, it felt like it was very much playing on all I ever wanted. So, oh God, I'm going to say Deliverers.
Okay, well, I think I made it quite clear during this episode which one I'm going for.
Yes.
100% The Plagues. It is by far the best song, in my opinion. Ben, what about you?
I just want to say, Alex, that was the longest deliberation I think we've ever had for a choice.
And he's still not 100% on it.
And it's still not 100% on it. It'll change by the end of the podcast recording.
I am going to go, if I can couple it with the animation, I'm going to go Deliverers. I think it just sets the tone for the entire film.
Ooh.
I do like Plagues. Weird sentence to say. But going back to the film after a very long time, it just already sets me into kind of like, oh, I think I misremembered this. Like, it just already sets me into like, this film is deep. This film's got a lot more to say. This film's got a serious message, but is still enjoyable. I think it encompasses all that into this one song. And so I will go with Deliverers.
Okay, well, unless Alex has changed his mind, that's a 2-1 victory for Deliverers.
I like how you said, like, we're all going to pick Heaven's Eyes, then you didn't even pick it.
Yeah.
I know, well, no, but I think that's kind of swayed it. I think I was going into it thinking that was my favourite, but then you both of you talked me out of it. I don't think it's not important enough to be the best song. Although that goes very much against the argument that I had when we were discussing the Oscar songs last week. But anyway.
So that brings an end to our second half and overall look at The Prince of Egypt. Let us know which one you think is the best song on Twitter. Alex, what is our Twitter handle?
TSF Team Pod.
You don't sound confident.
Pod?
So you can help the podcast in many ways. For example, you can share this on a random subreddit. But what subreddit should they pick, Ben?
Oh, gosh. Let's go for the Ralph Fiennes subreddit. Fiennes with an F.
Those people.
Fiennes choice.
If those people don't know, if those people don't know about his singing, they need to know.
Surely they would know.
Well, no, they will now.
So once you finish sharing this on Reddit, you can help us on Patreon by buying merch or by leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, iTunes is usually the main one, but we'll take them anywhere. As we've said before, on the street, if you just want to tell somebody about this podcast, just do it.
Good or
They
bad.
will definitely be happy to hear it, and they might even already know it. You'll become friends. Isn't that nice?
That would be nice. I think it's unlikely.
The podcast is connecting people.
As long as you stay distant. Keep 2 feet away.
So all that's left...
6 feet away.
Yeah,
2 meters
yeah.
away.
Oh yeah.
So all that's left now is to do some goodbyes. So it's goodbye from myself, goodbye, and goodbye from Alex.
I am the morning and the evening star.
And goodbye from Ben.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, blessed are the meek. Oh, that's nice. Oh, blessed are the cheesemakers, did he say?